And these men keep coming and doing the violations. Men and boys are also affected by GBV, though their experiences are often hidden and underreported due to stigma, social expectations of masculinity, and limited support services. We found that men may experience physical and emotional violence in public and private spaces, and psychological harm linked to rigid gender norms that discourage vulnerability or help seeking. We heard of their experiences of going to the police to report a violation, and they are told, you are embarrassing the men. Please go back home. But they are suffering. The Kenya Demographic and Health Survey findings indicate that about 34 to 44% of men in this country have suffered various forms of gender-based violence. On femicide, Your Excellency, the statistics are grim. Between 2022 and 2024, reported cases of femicide rose by 10%, with 578 women killed in 2024 alone. These are not just numbers. They are mothers, they are daughters, and their sisters whose lives were cut short, often by those they trust most. Our analysis reveals a chilling reality. The home, Your Excellency, has become the most dangerous place for women and girls in Kenya to live in. The home, a place of love, a place of warmth, also we think is the epicenter of femicide, Your Excellency. Children and boys and girls, Your Excellency, children as young as 3 years old, both boys and girls, are facing a severe scourge of abuse, defilement, sodomy, in the hands of people who should care for them, their own fathers. We came across some of the most horrific examples of what our children are going through. In Wajir, we heard of this experience. A child, a girl aged 4 years, Your Excellency, defiled and damaged so badly and left by the roadside with her intestines hanging out of her body. And that is the experience of many of the children we are seeing. And the most unfortunate thing, Your Excellency, is that defilement and abuse of children, who are the most vulnerable and the most defenseless of humanity, is shrouded in silence. Not a mother can defend them. Not a father can defend them, because we are protecting the so-called family honor. Those are our children. We have witnessed the emergence of extreme brutality. We are seeing patterns of violence marked by dismemberment and torture. Acts designed not just to kill, but to dehumanize. That is what our daughters, our mothers are going through. Like death is not enough. You kill them and dehumanize that body. It is horror stories out there. Now, what are the systemic failures and gaps that we found? Your Excellency, we identified critical gaps that fuel impunity. We found siloed and uncoordinated efforts, both by government and non-governmental organizations, towards combating GBV, including femicide. This has resulted in lack of focus in activities and accountability of resources from both government and development partners. We found insufficient resource allocation targeting combating of GBV, including femicide, at both national and county levels. And this hinders survivors' access to legal, medical, and psychosocial support. Institutions of justice, Your Excellency, such as the judiciary, the police, the DCI, the ODPP, etc., remain too underfunded to effectively respond to GBV and femicide violations. We found that currently our laws treat targeted killing of women merely as murder. There is no distinct offense of femicide in our laws in the Penal Code. Yet femicide is not just a killing. It is a killing of a woman because she's a woman, often rooted in intimate partner violence, misogyny, and control, harmful cultural practices, systemic gender inequality. And therefore, treating it as an ordinary murder case erases the motive and the structural violence behind it, and prevents us from tracking the true scale of the problem and applying sentences that match the gravity of that hate crime. Your Excellency, we've had random debate. We have the law on murder, and murder carries a mandatory sentence. Why do you want a femicide law? And we are telling them femicide is different. And if we treat it as any other homicide, then we miss out. And as I have said, Your Excellency, we miss out on the motives. And this will affect the way we investigate it, the way we prosecute it, the way we adjudicate it. And basically, that is what has been happening. Your Excellency, we found that families and communities are often the greatest barrier to justice. In many counties, clear criminal acts, including defilement and murder, are withdrawn from the justice system and settled through alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, or maslaha. This prioritizes clan harmony over the life and dignity of the victim. We also found that in some communities, harmful cultural practices such as wife beating are seen as normal. Female genital mutilation, child marriage, and sexual exploitation are deeply embedded and often not reported as a violence, but rather seen as normal cultural behavior, thus contributing to GBV, including homicide. Culture also hinders men from reporting gender-based violence, especially to the police and other law enforcement agencies. Your Excellency, we also found a total disconnect between our Constitution's promise of respect and protection of human rights of all, irrespective of their gender. This is mostly due to ignorance of the constitutional guarantees among many of the citizens. GBV and femicide are fueled by lack of respect for the rights of men and women in this country. Your Excellency, we also found that our response mechanisms are siloed. Survivors are forced to navigate a disjointed system of police, hospitals, the courts, often facing traumatization at every turn due to a lack of resources and training. We also found a data management system that is inadequate, consequences of which render survivors invisible, denies them protection, leads to poor cases tracking across police, health facilities, prosecution, and the courts, as well as fueling of impunity for perpetrators. Your Excellency, those are some of the findings. Many more are in the main report. Now, what are our recommendations? Guided by these findings, Your Excellency, the TWG proposes a radical shift in how Kenya prevents and responds to this violence. We have outlined actionable recommendations in this report, some immediate term, some middle term, and some long term. And these include, Your Excellency, we are requesting that you declare GBV, including femicide, a national crisis, because indeed it is. And the reason for this recommendation, Your Excellency, is that once you declare it a national crisis, it will get the highest response from the highest office. And it will get urgent, coordinated, and survivor-centered action. Your Excellency, we pray that you do it as an immediate measure. We also recommend the establishment of a dedicated GBV and femicide police unit to strengthen prevention, investigation, and prosecution of GBV and femicide-related crimes. This unit will recognize GBV and femicide as distinct, complex, and high-risk offense requiring specialized skills, survivor-centered approaches, and coordinated responses. We also recommend, Your Excellency, that you launch a nationwide campaign, and you, Your Excellency, as the champion of that campaign, on what constitutes GBV and femicide, urging for behavioral change through engagement of men and women and boys and community to challenge patriarchal and cultural norms, as well as promote gender equality, human rights, and the respect of all genders as part of our cultural evolution. We recommend that Your Excellency orders immediate installation of CCTV services, cameras in premises, and we have in mind the A, B, and Bs, because we found this is where most of the femicides are taking place. There is no accountability, there are no records. And so, Your Excellency, we pray that you look at that proposal. We also recommend the establishment of a dedicated, predictable, and ring-fenced financing mechanism. And that one, Your Excellency, we are recommending the establishment of the National GBV and Femicide Response Fund, which comprises the government, the private sector, and development partners. As I started off by saying, Your Excellency, we spend money out there without coordination. Donors give money. People do little things here and there. There's no coordination. Government spends money. And for the private sector, we want to tell the public that GBV and femicide is a security issue. And if they don't help us to combat GBV, they will lose out in business. So we make it our collective effort to finance this fund. It is a perpetual fund. And Your Excellency, we are asking that the government ring-fences from Treasury nothing less than 15 million per annum, commencing financial year 2026-2027. And the development partners, some of them who have actually approached us and say, we have something. We put it in that fund. And what is the purpose of that fund? It will be to support survivors through emergency medical care. It will support psychosocial counseling and trauma care. It will help in legal aid, court support, and witness protection. It will provide for safe shelters, rescue centers, and temporary housing. It will help in economic reintegration of victims. Community education, and Your Excellency, we have requested you to launch this nationwide campaign, which is going to continue, and part of the funding will go into programs that will sustain that campaign. We want to engage men and boys in GBV prevention. Money will go there. School-based education on respect for equality and human rights, it will go there. Early warning and community protection, it will go there. Your Excellency, hope I'm not taking too much of your time, but I'm just about to finish. Now, we are also recommending the formation, the establishment of a multi-sectoral committee headed by somebody we are calling a chief coordinator who understands the philosophy and the ethos of this report, and the same to be located within the presidency. And its work shall be to undertake and oversee a cohesive and coordinated implementation of the recommendations of this report. We can't afford to lose it. It will also operationalize the GBV and Femicide Response Fund. It will also undertake fundraising activities towards the fund. I believe, Your Excellency, that this team, the great team of 43 members of us that you appointed, has great potential. They have shown dedication, they have shown skill, they have shown understanding of the scourge of GBV, including femicide. I would not be overstretching if I said, as you put up this implementation committee, you can pick from one. I can vouch for any one of them, Your Excellency. Legislative reform, we have several, but I'll pick out the most important. We recommend, Your Excellency tasks the Attorney General to initiate immediate amendment of the Penal Code to define and codify femicide as a distinct offense separate from murder or general homicide. The other law that we are recommending is the enactment of what we are calling a Citizen Obligation Act, which will require all citizens to report any cases of GBV, including domestic violence, which is hitherto treated as a private act. Your Excellency, we came across very, I don't know if they were amusing or saddening, but domestic violence is so rife. The beating, and that's where the women are dying. And yet, they can scream, and nobody turns up. In fact, we were told it is only dogs who come, then which come. And then after the woman has died at the burial place, then everybody, this one, we knew it was coming. And nobody reports to the police. Now, the Citizen Obligation Act will take care of that everybody, and if you do not report a violation, you will be held as complicit in the commission of the crime. So we also recommend a mandatory national GBV response training across all sectors, and teaching of human rights and gender-based violence and gender equality across all training and school institutions, from the lowest to the highest level. As I said, we have a beautiful constitution, but everybody is ignorant about it. And killing of women, killing of men is because of lack of respect for the human rights of those persons. And yet we have a good, rich human rights instrument. We recommend a one-stop GBV recovery center in every of the 47 counties to take care of legal aid, medical care, psychological support, shelter services, etc. Data system, we recommend the creation of a national GBV and a femicide observatory. And we have listed the functions. Data collection is a problem here. In conclusion, Your Excellency, and thank you so much for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. We are saying that normalization of this violence is a direct threat to our constitutional promise of the right to life and human dignity. It is a threat to our economy. And Your Excellency, statistics from the National Commission on Gender and Equality show that this country loses nothing less than 46 billion Kenya shillings per annum because of GBV. That is a huge dent in our economy, which if we injected in our economy, the dream of Singapore could be real. Thank you very much.
Honorable Lady Justice, you can hand over the report to His Excellency the President.
Cabinet Secretaries and Principal Secretaries present, the members of the Technical Working Group, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is also my pleasure to join you today as we receive this report. I will not repeat what has been said because that report is rich. We are going to interrogate it, but we want to state that this report anchors the efforts that have been put in place, and Your Excellency, the report that you are holding is a collective hope and expectations of millions of Kenyans. The Ministry of Gender, Culture and Children's Services is dedicated to coordinating the implementation of this recommendation in partnership with all state actors and non-state actors. The work of this task force marks not the end, but the beginning of a renewed, resourced and relentless national effort to realize a Kenya where every citizen is safe and has dignity. I thank you, Your Excellency, for your steadfast leadership and your unwavering commitment to the empowerment and the protection of the people of Kenya. I'd just like to make a small correction from what the chair said. 15 billion is not enough. I think she meant 50 billion. So I think billion. Yes, because 15 million per year is not enough. It is the, how much was it? Billion, yes, not million. Yes, she meant 15 billion, not 15 million. So that is the kind of a budget we are looking at, but not only the budget, but we also, the campaign that she spoke about, where we go to every function, whether it is church, whether it is a school, whether it is any function, we will be speaking about it because we need our country to be safe. We need our women and girls to be free. We need our boys and girls to enjoy the leadership of His Excellency the President. I want to agree with you, Chair, that the only way to Singapore is to support the work the President is doing through the building of affordable housing, the markets, but we will not enjoy working in those places unless we do away with GBV and femicide. So I will not add much. Allow me at this particular time just to ask that we all be upstanding to welcome His Excellency the President to speak to us. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, CS. Please, let's take our seats. Asante sana. We did get a very robust report from the chair of the Technical Working Group on Gender-Based Violence. Therefore, I will be brief in my remarks because I think she has outlined for us what needs to be done, and we are better off getting started on what needs to be done. But allow me to thank the chairperson of the Working Committee, Dr. Nancy Baraza, and all members of the task force for their thorough and far-reaching work. I commend you for engaging Kenyans across the 47 counties, listening to survivors, listening to experts, communities, and institutions, and for confronting this painful national challenge with courage and depth. Listening to the recommendations that you have made, I am persuaded that you have identified the critical areas that if we address, we should be able to move the needle on this challenge. This report is more than a technical document. It is a reflection of voices, fears, and hopes of Kenyan people, especially survivors of gender-based violence. I have received and taken note of the contents of this report and its wide-ranging findings and recommendations on gender-based violence and femicide. The report lays bare the scale, complexity, and evolving nature of GBV in our country, affecting women, men, girls, and boys, with women and girls bearing a disproportionate burden. The findings on femicide, domestic violence, harmful cultural practices, and technology-facilitated abuse are deeply troubling and demand collective national reflection and action. I note key proposals in the report, including the call to treat GBV, including femicide, as a national crisis, requiring urgent and coordinated action. Recommendations for strengthened prevention, investigation, and prosecution, including specialized capacity within our law enforcement agencies. Proposals for legislative and policy reforms, including improved legal definitions, survivor protection, and accountability mechanisms. And the emphasis on coordinated financing, data systems, survivor-centered services, and national awareness and behavioral change. These recommendations speak to the need for institutional coordination, adequate resourcing, and a whole of government and a whole of society response. I wish to assure the nation that all recommendations will be carefully considered and subjected to due process in accordance with our Constitution and the law. The report will be reviewed through the appropriate government mechanisms, including the Cabinet, relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to determine policy, legislative, and administrative action. Where legislative reforms are proposed, they will be processed through the established constitutional and parliamentary procedures. Even as we consider this report, I wish to reiterate the government of Kenya's will and will continue to support and take decisive action to end the scourge of GBV in all its forms. Immediately, the CS responsible for this space will work with the colleagues, and within the next 1 month, we will have processed it through Cabinet under my chairmanship, and we will take the appropriate actions as have been recommended by the chair here. Violence against any Kenyan is unacceptable. Violence rooted in gender, power, or inequality is a betrayal of our Constitution, our values, and humanity. Protecting life, dignity, and safety is not optional. It is a core duty of a state. That said, however, ending gender violence is not the work of government alone. Parents and families and communities must nurture respect, and non-violence from every home. Religious institutions must uphold the sanctity of life and dignity. Community leaders and elders must reject harmful practices and silence around abuse. We must all, as we have been implored here, reject violence around abuse. We've had men get beaten, but because they do not want to look weak, they cannot report. And then women are beaten on the other side, and because it is culture, they do not want to report. Otherwise, they make the men look like they are not doing the right thing in accordance to society's norms. So we end up with violence and a lot of silence around it. Security agencies must act firmly, professionally, and without fear or favor. Citizens must speak out, report abuse, and stand with survivors. Every Kenyan has a role to play in ensuring that GBV is prevented, reported, and punished. And therefore, I'm very happy with the work that this committee has done, this task force has done. I commend you I went through the report, and I am persuaded beyond any doubt that you did apply your minds and effort appropriately. And as a means of ensuring that we pay you back, we will make sure that this report is implemented. And therefore, Waziri, you have your work cut out to process this through cabinet. And if we need the services, the support, the input of any one of the members here, please allow us to reach out to you so that together we can see this report implemented. Let this report mark not an end, but a turning point, from silence to action, from impunity to accountability, and from fear to safety. Together, as a nation, we must ensure that no Kenyan lives in fear because of their agenda. I thank you. My congratulations to all the members here, and you have brought out what was expected of this committee, and therefore we will roll the rest of government into action to make sure that we protect our families, we protect our children, we protect women, girls, boys, and everybody. Thank you very much. I know we were supposed to start this meeting earlier, but the earlier meeting that was here took longer, and I have another meeting that has just started. I have a virtual meeting with another 7 heads of state. You will allow me to cut short here and to wish you the very best. Asanteni sana.
Your Excellency, a quick photo, perhaps. A very quick photo. Let's take our seats. TWG.